So if you are someone that suffers with day-to-day anxiety, you most likely have constant worrying, feel like you're constantly stressed, constantly thinking about worst case scenario, constantly having symptoms, feeling sick, having panic attacks. And as a sufferer, rightfully so, you go look for solutions. You go to the doctor, you go to therapists, you try to find your answers. And so you'll go to therapists and you'll do CBT or talk it out, and you notice like it doesn't really help. And then maybe you'll go the medicine route and go to the doctors, and it may help short term, but you don't want to be on medication, or you know that it's just a band-aid to the deep-rooted issue. Or maybe you've gone the medicine route and you notice it's just not working for you. So when you try all these different methods, you'll feel like, I tried everything and nothing works. Am I just here to suffer? Am I just stuck just in my anxieties? And it can feel very miserable. No, you don't have to stay stuck in your anxieties. I got you. We're going to get to the root. We're going to understand anxiety. I'm going to give you some tips and tools on how to really conquer anxiety and get to the core deep issue. We're going to explain it in depth. But before we get started, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Missy. I'm a life and relationship coach, and yes, that is my baby in the background fighting nap time right now. We are a hot mama mess up in here, but we're rolling with it. But if you like getting to the root of the issue and learning how to heal and deal, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to be a part of the fam. And if you already are a subscriber, you know I appreciate you so much. Let's get into today's video. So to understand anxiety is not bad or negative. Anxiety has its reasons why we are biologically wired that way. In small doses, it's healthy, and it's there to keep us safe from dangerous situations. When we have constant generalized anxiety, that's when it's unhealthy, and that's when it's unnatural, and it means that we are suffering with a disorder. And what happens is we will feel like we are in danger constantly, day to day, worrying about situations, thinking worst case scenario. That is what generalized anxiety disorder is. So anxiety comes partially from genetics, partially from your family tree, and it also can come from how you process scary things and your awareness to the world around you. It all boils down to the traumas in your life. Now, you may say, Missy, I didn't have a traumatic childhood. But here's the thing. Trauma is very individual to each person. What may be traumatic to one person will not be traumatic to another. And the reason why that is because it's based on how our minds process the event and the emotions, and if we've resolved it in our mind. So if it's not something that's been resolved and you have built this story in your head of thinking about what could have happened in that scary event, then you will be traumatized by it. So how your mind and body perceives events is what will determine your anxiety levels. Notice how I said mind and body, because anxiety is a mind and a body problem. It is not just mental, it is also physical. So if in childhood you deal with something scary, whether it's to you or to someone else, maybe your dad got stung by a bee and goes to the hospital, or you have some type of situation, you scrape your knee and it was really scary, you had to go to the hospital, whatever it was, if you have a scary event, what happens is that if you don't process those things, if you had multiple of those things, whatever it is, if it does not get resolved in your mind and your parasympathetic nervous system doesn't kick in to show that you're okay, then it will start a negative feedback loop of you constantly seeking and perceiving situations as dangerous and scary, thinking of the potential of what could happen. And so with neurons, what fires together, wires together. So then every time something potentially scary could happen, your mind will go to that worst case scenario. And now that is where your brain gears towards, that negative feedback loop. That is a constant neural pathway that your brain goes to, and that's why you'll be someone that thinks worst case scenario over other people. You'll have anxiety. So understand your brain has now been trained to seek the bad, seek the scary, be hyper aware, and obsess about all of the scary possibilities or the bad possibilities of what could happen. Because your brain thinks, I can protect myself from these negative things or these scary things by thinking about it. I can try to prevent it from happening by thinking about all the ways that it could go wrong. Your brain thinks it's protecting itself by being alert and trying to prevent bad from happening. Because your brain thinks it's protecting itself by being very alert and thinking about the worst case scenario, it can protect itself. It's a way to feel in control, and it feels like it's a way to prevent things from happening by being able to think about it and think about what you will do in those situations. That's where ruminating and intrusive thoughts come into play. That's the mental aspect of anxiety. Now, the physical aspect is that all of this gets stored in your hippocampus, in your limbic system, and your amygdala. And it remembers how you prevented potential bad things from happening. Because you're thinking about, in your story, when you're traumatized and you're scared, you're thinking about the scary thing and how you prevented it, and this is how you prevented it, so you need to continue to do this in the future, and it gets stored in your body. And with your body, you have physical symptoms that come into play of how to protect yourself. You know, in that moment, your heart raced, and you had a hard time breathing, and you had all of these things, and you felt very nervous in those moments, and that was a way that your brain's trained of, like, oh, I prevented the bad thing from happening from being that alert and from sending cortisol through my body. So that's how your body has stored it, and that's why you will feel these constant symptoms and feel constantly alert and stressed and exhausted. So your body has been trained to have constant cortisol running through your body and has lived off of this cortisol and has become addicted to these stress hormones, and it's hard to stop. And that's why one or the other preventive measure or solution doesn't work. It needs both mind and body to work together to deal with anxiety. One day it hit me and I realized how much I was traumatizing myself, because when something potentially scary would happen, I would obsess about it. And I would catastrophize it and obsess about what could happen. And after that thing was over, I wouldn't think about how I was healthy and safe and like that thing didn't happen. I would think about how it could have happened and how scary it was and how scary that situation was, that I was trying to prevent this scary thing from happening. And that's how I'd constantly be traumatized by such small things over and over again. My anxiety tricked me into believing that I wasn't safe or okay because I was playing the story of in my imagination, because I always say, your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. My brain was playing the story of what could have happened, and so I believed that was happening, even though I know technically, logically it wasn't happening, but emotionally it felt like it was happening. And so that's where the constant anxiety comes into play, because you believe the story of what's in your imagination of what could happen, and that's what it feels like is happening. And that's where people get stuck in PTSD and things like that, because you're thinking about what could have happened rather than what is happening, which is you are safe and you are okay, and you wound up being okay. So now that we understand anxiety a little bit more in depth, what do? What is the solution? So, like I mentioned, it's both body and mental work. But the first major thing I would say to focus on is somatic work. And what somatic mean is just the body work. We need to calm our overactive nervous system that's been trained over the years. Not your fault. It's just been, those neural pathways, and it's been trained over the years to be in this constant fight or flight. We have to calm the body in order to get to the mind and calm the mind. So that way we can activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming part of our nervous system, the rest and digest. Because you may notice, like, you're not thinking about anything, but you're feeling jittery, you're feeling nervous, your stomach's turning, you just are so anxious and stressed, your heart's racing, you feel like you're going to pass out, whatever it is. You're not thinking about anything, but your body's just reacting that way, and that's because it's in a constant fight or flight, anxious state. So we got to deal with the body first. So one of the first things is, when your body is reacting like that, when it's, going to a fight or flight, it's important to welcome it. So say, come on, anxiety, come on in. I welcome you. Come have a seat. We're going to have some tea. We're going to have a drink. Come and sit. You want to sit with your anxiety. And you may be like, Missy, what the hell? Why would I want to sit with all these uncomfortable symptoms? Because when you sit with it, you're training your brain of like, hey, even like, we're not in a dangerous situation. Because when you're in danger, you can't sit with these things. Like, you got to fight, flight, or freeze. You got to, do something. But if you sit with it, you welcome it, and you don't fight it, your body's not going to intensify the symptoms to act on these symptoms, because that's really what your body's doing, is like, act on these things. I'm giving you this adrenaline and cortisol so that way you act on it. You do something because you're in a scary situation, but you're training your body like, hey, I'm not in a scary situation. I'm okay. So come on, these symptoms. It's anxiety. You've been through this so many times before. You know what it looks like and feels like. The less reactive you are, the less intense it will be in your body, and you are retraining your brain, and you are untraining for your body's need to constantly go into that fight or flight and that constant anxiety state and thinking about worst case scenario. So you are shrinking that neural pathway. It becomes less of something your brain gears towards. You're becoming non-reactive to these symptoms, and you're saying, hey, we're not in a dangerous situation, chill out. So that's the number one thing you want to do, is welcome it, sit with it, ask how it's doing, what it's doing, chill, and don't be reactive to it. The next thing is to do 4-4-6-2 breathing. This is my favorite breathing. It gives an immediate calm down. So basically what you do is you breathe in for 4, you pause for 4, you breathe out for 6, and then you pause for 2, and then you do it again until you feel calm. One of the biggest reasons why this type of breathing works is because when you are anxious, you hyperventilate, or maybe you overbreathe, or maybe you don't breathe enough, whatever it is, and you build up carbon dioxide, which then creates more stress, anxiety, lessens the oxygen in your brain, and it's just a mess. So when you pause and you exhale more, you're exhaling more carbon dioxide, and you're exhaling more oxygen. You're welcoming more of the balance of the carbon dioxide and the oxygen. Not only that, but you can't breathe when you're in dangerous situations. Like, you don't have the time to breathe. So when you take a deep breath and you breathe, then your body's like, okay, we're safe, we're calm. Like, we don't need to be reactive right now. And it will it's the most calming feeling ever. I love the 4-4-6-2 breathing. So I definitely would say do that until you feel calm. You also can listen to brown noise as well. If like your brain's chattering, you can't get it shut off, listen to some brown noise. And then the next thing, which is somatic, is shake it out. Now you may be like, what the hell, shake it out? Why would I shake it out? So here's the thing. 1, you can't shake it out or dance or do whatever when you're in a dangerous situation. So 1, it teaches your brain, hey, you're chill, nothing bad's happening. And 2, shaking out gets the nervous energy out, gets the cortisol, gets adrenaline out. And you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system by doing that, because if you ever notice, like whenever there's a big situation, if you've ever given birth or whatever it is, or like after you maybe see a car accident and it's over, like you'll notice you'll start to shake. That's your parasympathetic nervous system activating to calm you down, to get the excess adrenaline out. So by shaking, you're progressing that process. So just shake your body, shake it out, whatever, dance, whatever. And you'll notice those things will calm your body down immediately. So that's part of the somatic part. And then the mental part, that's when you can do a CBT. That's when you can do the other thing, like with shifting your thoughts of, I'm safe and I'm okay. That's what's really important, is to remind yourself you're safe and you're okay, and thinking about what's in your control. And I have a whole lot of those videos, which I will link, about, how to mentally deal with the anxiety part. So I'd highly recommend trying those things, and let me know in the comments below how it goes for you. Like, do it for a week, a month, whatever it is, and see if it really calms your body and it shifts your brain, and it teaches your brain and body, like, hey, we're safe. Like, we don't have to go to that anxious part, because your brain is very malleable. Like I talk about so much on this channel, your brain is malleable. You can absolutely retrain your brain, and you do that by combining both the mind and the body. So what do you guys think? Leave it on the comments below. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to join our Patreon so you can be a part of the community. You're missing out. You don't want to miss out. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye, guys. This video has taken me so many hours to make because there's been lots of cuddle breaks, feeding breaks. I've been bouncing the baby up and down to keep them calm. I'm just mommying right now. 3 hours later, the baby finally fell asleep, fed, cleaned, bath time, got dinner together. It's a day.